Here is where I get to set my spirit free. Here is where I find my naturality. Where are we going?
My name is Dr. Jarvis Watson. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm the Assistant Dean for Student Support Team at Stony Brook University and co-producer of this amazing vodcast, Grit 2020. For several weeks, our students have been leading discussions with members of the university about issues that directly impact students thriving through a socially distanced and remote learning environment. The goal of this vodcast is to help students realize that we may be separated by space, but the space does not diminish our purpose and connection with each other. This session of Grit 2020 is called The Check-In. In 3 different segments, we will be hearing from the exceptional group of students that serve as the co-producers and co-hosts of Grit 2020. They come from various backgrounds and bring a diverse combination of experiences to this cast and to the university. Even though they are leaders, they are students that experience the same struggles and challenges affecting all members of the university. Our conversations will be moderated by myself and 2 special guests, Deanie Zimmerman, co-producer and studio director here at Stony Brook University, and Ellen Driscoll, associate dean of the student support team. So let's begin. Our first topic today is Zoom fatigue. The first question goes to Nia and Kyrie. How you all doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for asking.
All right. Okay. It seems that we are at the halfway mark of the semester, a little bit beyond that. Online learning has presented some challenges for students. As a team, how are you enduring through this time? Nia? Yeah.
I think that doing the best. I feel burnt out. I'm tired of doing work. I don't have any motivation to do anything. I'm a big procrastinator, and I feel like being online learning has increased my procrastination even more, which means I'm really doing stuff at the last minute. Like I'm turning stuff in at 11:55 if it's due at 11:59, and that's not good at all. But I don't know. I just don't feel like doing it any time before that, and I feel like a lot of students are definitely going through that struggle. How are you doing, Corey?
I agree with you, Nia. I feel like at this point in the semester, I'm just kind of taking it like week by week. And then, like you said, like procrastinations like is a big thing. Like kind of like only doing assignments because like kind of like you have to, and like I feel like I just don't have the motivation to really like learn. I'm kind of just going through the motions and just like I don't know. It's very like repetitive. Like being on like the same kind of like concrete schedule, logging onto your computer, looking at the same screen for a couple of hours, and it's kind of just like the same routine cycle that I don't know. I guess like for me, I just kind of just get tired of it. And it's kind of like when is something new gonna happen, or like when can I like take time to kind of just like enjoy myself, see something different, and kind of like start to like get that motivation back again. I definitely agree with you on that aspect.
I'm tired of looking at people in rectangles in little
Oh,
tiles on screen. I'm so tired of it. I want to see like a triangle, bounce around like bumper cars or something. I don't know, but I'm tired of it. It's so boring and monotonous, and you just see it all day, every day. It's really frustrating.
Nia, what would you do if this were the future of education? One of the questions that I asked was if you had younger siblings and this is the way they're learning. So you're the first generation that's learning this way, really. But if COVID eventually goes away and this becomes the hybrid, becomes the new vogue way of teaching, how do you think you would tell your younger siblings to adjust to that?
I think I would just try to treat it as it being normal. Like for me, I would know the difference between being in person in school and having online school. But I remember when I was little, I really wanted online school. I hated getting up and getting on the bus and everything. So I feel like I would be able to relate better to younger people, especially because younger kids, I feel like, adapt to things better. I'm 20, so of course I'm not gonna like what I've known doing for over 12 years. But if you're in like fifth grade, or I babysit a 5 and an 8-year-old, they made the switch really easily. Like they're like, oh, I get to use my Chromebook, and it's exciting for them to be able to learn in a different setting, I think. So I would approach it more as this is normal as opposed to, I really want to see some people in real life.
Maybe we need to adopt a fourth grade class and have them adopt you. Would that work?
Yes.
Look, I'm not beyond doing that, you know. So
No, you all really lay out some really interesting points, and see some people like nodding their heads and smiling because they kind of understand what's happening. Has anybody else experienced something similar? And I don't know if you just realized this, Nia, you just called yourself old as a good compare yourself to like a 5-year-old. Now you starting to sound like us, like we the old folk, you know. So
no, I'm the old folk. I really am.
oh man, but anyone want to share something similar to what like Nia and Kyrie were going through?
Yeah. Can everyone hear me?
Hi, Shabami. How are you?
Hi. I'm fine, thank you. How's everyone? I understand, and really one thing I don't really like is breakout rooms, and I do that every time in my chemistry class. I can't stand it, and it's like the professor, like, okay, let's say I have the same breakout room for like 2 weeks, and some breakout rooms are different. Maybe depends on the people. Some are more like outgoing, but the breakout room I'm in for the past 2 weeks, nobody just switches on their camera. They don't talk. They don't care. And even if she comes in,
Shabami,
they're
can I
not gonna put
stop
it
you for
on.
a second? So
Interesting.
for our audience, can you explain what a breakout room is?
Oh, okay. So it's like if I mean, like, let's say you have, let's say, like 30 people in like a Zoom call or whatever. So breakout room is kind of like they put you in like mini groups, like let's say groups of like 5 to 7. So it can make like interactions like better, that kind of thing. They also do in clubs, because I tried to join a club recently, and we do that. And sometimes it's okay, but sometimes I don't know. The professor is like, nobody's putting on their camera. Like, why not? And it's just like, sometimes they also mess up the breakout room. Like, I've been in the same breakout room for 2 weeks, and now I'm in a breakout room with people that don't want to talk. And it's just, I just get very tired. Like, like I would rather see people, because I'm actually struggling in one of my classes, and not having to see someone, like, to ask like, hey, do you understand what the professor is saying? Because people don't put on their cameras or whatnot, or they put it up to their ceiling. It really just depends. I miss in-person interaction. Like, I kind of miss that. Like, yeah.
Do you have, I have two questions. One of, is there a TA for that class?
So for that class, oh my God, it's a physics class, and I'm not taking the lab. People that are taking the lab at the same time have TAs, but because I'm not taking the lab, I don't have a TA. I'm in the academic tutoring thing, but it took a while before I could get a tutor. And the class is asynchronous, which makes it worse because I really cannot relate to the professor. Like, it's just emails like, oh, this is, you have an exam, so if you have a question, and it's just everything is pre-recorded. But I don't really learn that way. I realize like it's not working for me because I get distracted easily, and I tend to forget I have the class each week. So it's not, yeah, I'm not doing too well in that class, I would say.
But I think the positive side of what you just said, which is something I'm in my latter 60s. I've only learned about in the last decade, which is how I learn. So if you've picked up that lesson, which is how you learn or how you don't learn, and it causes a failure in your physics class, that's a really good lesson to know, because it will help you in the future decide on what classes to take and how best you learn, and you can research all that before you sign up for your classes. So failing a class or having a really hard time in it is a real struggle, and I'm sorry for that. But I do think that that's a really mature lesson to have learned early on in your life, which is how I learn. Do you know what I'm saying? That should be able to help you too into the future, figuring out what kind of job you want. You know, do you need a job where you have interactive social activity with other human beings? Or do you want to sit in a lab by yourself? All those kinds of questions. So I would urge you to do a little more soul searching and see if you can define that for yourself. I would even encourage you to write it down.
I love listening to these two generations talking about learning styles. That's one thing that Zoom has brought to us that we would not have necessarily been able to share before.
I also think, Shabami, you could send a note to your faculty and say, you know, I've learned this about myself now, and can you help me figure this out with the way I learn? Because I think that faculty have to be very responsive to all kinds of different learning styles. And this COVID, as much as we all despise it, has thrown us into this sort of rabbit hole, but there's ways out of that rabbit hole. And one of those is to make change, because change has already been made for all of us by just events of our time. And so now in the process of adapting to those changes, I think we have to bring people on board to make them understand what they have to do to make it better.
Yeah.